Welcome back to another episode of Urban Crime Stories. In this episode, we will examine the heartbreaking case of Latrese Curtis, a young woman whose life was cut short by a terrible act of violence. On January 30th, 2008, 21-year-old Latrese Curtis was discovered lifeless on a Raleigh, North Carolina highway. 2 days later, a local pastor was taken into custody for the crime. The case details and the reason behind Latrese's murder were surprising and distressing for both her family and the community. The sad ending to Latrese Curtis's life came from concealed relationships, secret affairs, and a dark motive, leading to a widely followed murder trial. Latrese Curtis was born on May 28, 1986 in Raleigh, North Carolina, to the loving parents of Sherman and Patricia Jones. She lived in a loving home with her older brothers Justin and Marin, and she was affectionately known as Treese during her upbringing. Latrese was a constant companion to her father, to the point that he often called her his little boy in a dress because she participated in activities typically associated with fathers and sons. Perhaps this was influenced by growing up with older brothers. Gifted with good looks and an infectious smile, Latrese easily made friends, and admirers were drawn to her. She mostly stayed out of trouble, largely due to her dad Sherman being a juvenile corrections officer. He was happy to see that despite all the attention, Latrese always prioritized her education. Her hard work paid off when she got accepted into Bennett College in Raleigh, North Carolina, attending from 2004 to 2005. After that, she transferred to Wake Technical Community College in Greensboro, North Carolina. Following some time there, Latrese was excited to enroll at North Carolina Central University, where she pursued a major in accounting. Despite all her successes, Latrese stayed humble and supportive. Friends warmly remembered that she was consistently there for them during tough times, providing honest opinions whenever they sought her advice. She always had a smile on her face and encouraged everyone, even when they came to her with their problems. During her first semester at North Carolina Central, Latrese crossed paths with Darren Lee Curtis, a fellow accounting student and former National Guard soldier. Darren, who was 5 years her senior and from Raleigh, was sweet and a bit reserved. While dating may not have been Latrese's immediate focus, her connection with Darren was special. They quickly hit it off, and it was clear to everyone that they were deeply in love. Darren seemed to match her well. The way he talked showed he was very respectful. Not long after they started dating, just 1 year into their relationship, Latrese and Darren made the life-changing decision to spend the rest of their lives together. Despite the magnitude of the commitment, they were serious and well-prepared. Both dedicated to their accounting careers, they juggled part-time jobs to support themselves. Latrese worked in the Human Resources Department at Sears in the Triangle Town Center Mall in Raleigh, while Darren was employed at a local firm in Raleigh. Finally, on April 27, 2007, the couple exchanged vows, and Latrese officially became Mrs. Curtis. The wedding didn't sit well with Latrese's family, despite her introducing Darren to them during their dating phase. The news of the wedding shocked them because besides Darren's shy, reserved, and respectful nature on the surface, they practically didn't know anything about him. Naturally, for everyone in their family, especially for Latrese's protective father Sherman, the marriage came under intense scrutiny. Sherman expressed feeling disrespected because Darren never talked to him about wanting to marry his daughter. He felt like Darren should have discussed it with him, but they never said anything. The marriage also surprised Latrese's friends since she kept everything hush-hush. One day, during her junior year at work, they saw a ring on her finger and she told them she got married. They were shocked. Against all odds, the pair moved into an apartment complex in Raleigh, starting a new chapter in their lives. They were full of hopes and dreams for a joyful and prosperous future, but unfortunately that future would come crashing down in the most horrific way possible. On January 30th, 2008, at about 7 a.m., a man called 911. He reported seeing something on the side of the road on Interstate I-540 and believed it was a body. The body belonged to a young woman who had been stabbed almost 40 times in the chest, neck, and head. She looked very pale because she had lost a lot of blood. They identified the woman as Latrese Curtis. Latrese's white sedan was discovered less than a mile away, with the inside covered in blood. It was evident that the attack had taken place inside the car. On the day Latrese was found, her father, Sherman Jones, tried to reach his daughter and her husband. He mentioned that he switched on the news at around 9 a.m. and saw that a body had been discovered. He later got to know from the police that it was Latrese, and Darren had reported her missing the night before. They played a short clip of Darren's 911 call. He mentioned he had spoken to Latrese the night before, and she was on the way home from Durham. They brought in Darren for questioning at around 11 a.m. Sherman mentioned that Darren appeared unconcerned about Latrese being missing, and he thought Darren didn't go out to look for her. Darren didn't have an alibi, but he cooperated. He provided the police with his fingerprints and a sample of his DNA, and he allowed them to take photographs of him. However, there was no evidence connecting Darren to the crime scene, so he was released, leaving doubts and unanswered questions among the community. Were there things Darren was hiding? Could their seemingly perfect relationship have darker layers? Did Darren have secrets that might have led him to harm his wife? Before detectives could explore these questions, a significant lead emerged in the case, thanks to a tip. From this point, the investigation took a dark turn, revealing a tale of lies, secrets, and a deadly love triangle. During the investigation, the police got a tip from a North Carolina state trooper. He mentioned that around 1:15 a.m. that morning, he found two vehicles. The first one was Latrese's, and the second belonged to a man named Robert Reeves. Robert lived in Durham and worked as a minister at Cedar International Fellowship. He was nicknamed the Bishop, and wanted everyone to know his nickname. He was brought in for questioning. During the interview, investigators found out that the connection between Robert and Latrese was a man named Stephen Randolph. Stephen was also a student at North Carolina Central, and was having an affair with Latrese. Stephen was a basketball player at North Carolina Central, and was known for being popular with ladies. Robert also allowed investigators to take his fingerprints, DNA, and photographs. They asked him about his vehicle, and he explained that Stephen used his car occasionally because Stephen's car was not working. On February 1st, 2008, which was 2 days after Latrese's murder, Stephen was brought in for questioning. When investigators asked him about his relationship with Latrese, Stephen mentioned that he knew Latrese was married, but didn't have many details about her marriage as she didn't share much with him. Stephen mentioned that he was with Latrese the night before she died, and that they engaged in intimacy. Afterwards, Latrese left to go home. He also mentioned that after she left, he went to his other girlfriend's house to meet some friends. Stephen provided investigators with one more piece of information. He and his other girlfriend had been getting strange phone calls. About a month before Latrese died, someone slashed their tires. That's why he sometimes had to borrow Robert's car. Stephen also gave the police his fingerprints and DNA and posed for photographs. On February 2nd, 2008, Sherman, Latrese's father, received a call informing him about an arrest. Robert Reeves was charged with first-degree murder. Despite claiming innocence, his DNA was found inside Latrese's car on the steering wheel and on other items in her car. The trial for Robert began on September 29, 2009. During the trial, Stephen testified that Robert had invited him to move in, initially seeming helpful. However, Robert later suggested Stephen join an escort service. Stephen declined, and Robert made unwanted advances. Police found a second phone line belonging to Robert, matching the calls Stephen and his girlfriend received. The phone's location matched where the tires were slashed. The prosecution believed Robert killed Latrese to remove her as an obstacle to his relationship with Stephen. They theorized that Robert followed Latrese while on her way from Stephen's house and forced her to pull over while on Interstate 540. There, Robert repeatedly slashed and stabbed her almost 40 times in the chest, neck, and head. On October 9, 2009, Robert Reeves was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Latrese appeared to be a wonderful person, and her father spoke about her in a heartfelt way. She was very close to her dad, and even after 16 years, he still doesn't feel at peace. On the other hand, it seems like Robert may have imagined the relationship or was very jealous of Latrese and Stephen's other girlfriend. He believed that by removing them, Stephen would turn to him. However, Stephen felt uneasy about it. Robert deceived many people and deserved a life sentence in prison. What are your thoughts about this tragic story? Please share your comments in the comments below. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to be informed about future cases. Your support means a lot to us. Until next time, I will see you with another episode of Urban Crime Stories.